I know what it feels like to be seen as the weakest in the room, to be measured, weighed, and quietly dismissed, as if your worth was nothing more than a shadow passing by. They never said it out loud, but you felt it in their eyes, in the way they smirked when you spoke, in the way they whispered when you turned away. That sting stays. It burns deeper than words ever could. And that's where the fire begins, 'cause every smirk becomes a matchstick, every whisper a spark, every eye that looked past you now fuels something they'll never control. You don't just remember their doubt, you keep it, you sharpen it, you turn it into steel. That's the part they never understand. They thought they were breaking you, but all they were doing was building something they won't date when it finally rises. Look at yourself now, not as prey, not as fragile, but as the storm waiting behind the silence. You've carried every scar like a secret weapon. You've turned humiliation into armor. You've taken every insult and buried it in the walls of your chest until the weight became muscle, until the pain became momentum. You are not what they called you. You are not what they imagined. You are the sentence they forgot to finish. And here's the truth. Nothing terrifies people more than the silence they mocked. Finally speaking back, when the smile they thought was weakness turns into something sharper. When the quiet one becomes the loudest presence in the room without saying a word. That's the moment they learn. That's the moment they flinch. That's the moment they realize what they thought was easy prey is the nightmare they never saw coming. Tell me, have you ever felt that shift inside you? That pulse that tells you you're done playing small? That you're ready to show them what happens when underestimation becomes evolution? Answer me. Because the second you feel it, nothing will ever look the same again. They never saw it, did they? The way you studied their every move, quiet, patient, letting them think they had the upper hand, while inside you were taking notes on their arrogance. Memorizing their weaknesses like a surgeon learning where to cut. That's the beauty of being underestimated. You get to watch, you get to learn, you get to prepare without anyone realizing you're sharpening your edge. And when the time comes, you don't just strike, you devastate. Think about it. They spent their time laughing, you spent yours building. They wasted their nights in comfort, you burned yours in silence, carving out a version of yourself they could never even imagine. They thought your silence was surrender, but it was the sound of you loading every bullet of discipline, every blade of resilience, every ounce of ruthless self-belief. And when the silence ends, it's deafening. This is where the transformation begins. Not in glory, not in light, but in the quiet corners where no one is watching. That's where the real you was forged. Behind closed doors, in the grind, no one respects. In the rejection, no one remembers, but that's where the monster is born. Not out of cruelty, but out of necessity. Because when they wrote you off, you rewrote yourself. And now you carry something they don't. Hunger. A hunger that can't be bought, borrowed, or faked. A hunger that doesn't rest, doesn't negotiate, doesn't compromise. You wear it in your eyes, you carry it in your silence, and when it finally surfaces, it doesn't ask for respect, it takes it. So tell me, do you feel it? That pulse in your chest that doesn't let you settle, that fire in your gut that whispers late at night, you're not done yet. That's not anger anymore. That's not revenge. That's transformation. That's the beginning of something that can't be ignored. That's you stepping into the nightmare they never prepared for. Smile. Let it be the currency they trade while you count their weaknesses. You learn faces. You learn timing. You learn the exact second their confidence thins. Mercy is a costume. Wear it. Move through rooms like a rumor they can't pin down. Every small kindness is a step. Every step is a map. You follow it to where power waits. When the moment comes, you won't need noise. The silence will do the damage for you. Do you feel that readiness? That cold clarity that says this is no accident. This is design. Fear is a mirror. You don't run from it. You stare until it cracks. You learn its edges, the way it bends your reflection into something unrecognizable, and instead of retreating, you reach into that glass and pull the fragments into your hands. That's where the shift begins. Fear is not the enemy. It's the raw material. It's the steel waiting to be sharpened. And when you stop treating it like poison and start treating it like fire, it becomes the fuel that nobody can take from you. Do you know what terrifies them most? It's not your anger. It's not your strength. It's your calm. The way you hold the silence when everyone else is desperate to the way you stand steady while they scatter like shadows. That calm doesn't come from luck. It comes from walking through fear until it bends, until it obeys, until it belongs to you. Because once you own your fear, theirs is automatic. Every time you feel that pulse in your chest, that rush in your throat, don't suffocate it. Direct it. Let it shape your decisions. Let it sharpen your movements. Fear is energy, and energy never disappears. It only transforms. You can let it bury you, or you can let it crown you. But when you choose the second option, when you turn trembling into tension and tension into precision, you become something they can't predict, something they can't defend against. That's the secret. Not the absence of fear, but the mastery of. They thought you were prey because they saw you flinch. They didn't realize you were learning rhythm. They thought you froze, but you were teaching yourself patience. And now every pause is a weapon. Every glance is strategy. Every breath is a countdown they can't hear until it's too late. So the question is, do you still see fear as the thing holding you back? Or do you finally understand it was never meant to stop you? It was meant to train you, to test you, to temper you into the kind of force that doesn't just survive, but dominates. And when they see that, that's when the real fear begins. Every mask has a purpose. Somewhere there's to hide shame, somewhere there's to fit in. But you wear yours like a weapon. They see the smile and think it's harmless. They see the calm and think it's weak. They never realize the mask is a mirror. You only show them what they expect to see, and that's why they'll never predict the moment you finally move. Masks are strategy. You don't need to shout your strength. You don't need to broadcast your intent. You let them believe the same story they've always told themselves. You let them underestimate. You let them think you're still the one they can dismiss, because the longer they believe that, the sharper your advantage grows. They're already trapped in the role they wrote for you, and they don't even know it. Think of it like a game of cards. They've laid theirs on the table. Loud, obvious, predictable. But you keep yours close. Every glance, every word, every step is measured, deliberate, unreadable. That's how you control the tempo. By never letting them know what's behind your silence. By making them doubt, hesitate, second-guess themselves while you move with precision. This isn't deception for cruelty. It's survival. It's transformation. It's the art of becoming untouchable. Because when no one knows who you truly are, when no one can predict the weight you're carrying, you stop being someone they can define, and you start becoming someone they fear to even approach. The mask doesn't just protect you, it blinds. And when the mask finally comes off, when they see what's been hiding underneath all along, it's too late. The trap is already set. The board is already tilted. The nightmare they thought could never exist is suddenly standing right in front of them. And by then they don't just regret underestimating you. They regret ever crossing paths with you. The chains they placed on you were never metal. They were words, labels, quiet judgments repeated so many times they started to echo in your own head. They called you fragile. They called you unworthy. They called you prey. And for a while you wore those chains like they belonged to you. But chains rust, and when they rust, they break. That's the moment you decided you weren't carrying their weight anymore. You stopped rehearsing the script they wrote for you. You tore it apart, page by page, until nothing of their story remained. The world they tried to build around you, the walls, the ceilings, the limits, collapsed under the pressure of your refusal. Because once you decide their voice doesn't matter, it loses its power. Breaking chains isn't loud. It's not theatrical. It's quiet. It's in the small moments where you stop apologizing for existing. It's in the seconds where you look in the mirror and finally see yourself, not their version of you. It's in the silence where you realize you owe them nothing. Not your time, not your explanation, not your belief. That silence becomes your liberation. And from that silence, you step forward, free, heavy no more. Every word they used to weigh you down is now the fuel that lifts you high. Every attempt to box you in only gave you the map to break out. They wanted to keep you small. Instead, they handed you every reason to grow into something they'll never contain. So the question is simple. Will you still carry their chains, pretending they're yours? Or will you let them fall and finally walk with nothing holding you back? Because once you let them hit the ground, once you stop wearing their labels, there is no going back. You're not who they said you were. You're who you decide to be. And that truth is heavier than any chain they could ever forge. Ruthlessness doesn't mean cruelty. It means clarity. It means finally deciding that your time, your energy, your respect are not free currency for anyone to waste. Too long, you gave second chances. Too long, you excused their insults. Too long, you watered yourself down just to fit into rooms that didn't deserve you. That version of you's gone. And in its place stands someone who no longer negotiates with disrespect. This is the rise of ruthlessness. The moment you strip away hesitation and step into raw certainty. Every maybe becomes a no. Every someday becomes now. You stop apologizing for the space you take, the dreams you hold, the fire you carry. They'll call it arrogance, because they can't handle someone who refuses to shrink anymore. But you'll know the truth. It's not arrogance, it's ownership. Look at the ones who underestimated you. They relied on your silence. They depended on your softness. They assumed you would never draw lines, never set standards, never demand what you deserve. That illusion kept them comfortable. But when you rise ruthless, comfort dies. Every boundary you enforce cuts through their assumptions like glass shattering under pressure. They don't get to use you anymore. They don't get to drain you anymore. They don't get to define you anymore. And here's the part they'll never understand. Ruthlessness isn't about them. It's about you. It's about finally protecting the version of yourself you've been building in the dark. It's about no longer leaking energy on the unworthy. It's about standing so firm in who you are that their opinions feel like whispers in a storm. You're not cruel, you're focused. You're not heartless. You're untouchable. So stand tall, speak sharp, move like someone who has nothing left to prove. Because once you step into this space, once you embrace the rise of ruthlessness, the world doesn't get to toy with you anymore. You become the player. You become the dealer. You become the one who sets the rules and everyone else scrambles to keep up. They thought your silence was weakness, but it was training. Every night you spent alone, every doubt you wrestled with, every failure you carried on your back, those weren't setbacks, they were weights. And lifting them built the weapon inside you. You've been forging steel in the shadows, piece by piece, until your mind became a blade no one can dull. That's what discipline does. It turns scars into strength. The weapon isn't in your hands. It's in your focus. It's in your refusal to quit when every voice told you to stop. It's in your hunger to keep building even when no one clapped for you. That weapon is invisible, but it's undeniable. They'll feel it when you walk in. They'll see it when you refuse to bend. They'll hear it in the silence you hold longer than they can handle. This is the part no one tells you. The strongest weapon isn't rage. Rage burns out. It's discipline that lasts. It's resilience that carries you past every wall they said was unbreakable. It's patience, sharpened into precision. That's what you've built. That's why you're still here. Because you didn't crumble under the weight. They did. Think about how many times you should have stopped. How many times they thought you'd quit. How many times the world expected you to fold. But you didn't. You stayed. You fought. You adapted. That's the weapon. The one forged not in comfort but in struggle. The one no one can take from you. Because they never saw it being built. And now you carry it everywhere. In your tone, in your walk, in your presence. The weapon within you isn't loud. It doesn't need to be. It doesn't ask permission. It doesn't wait. It simply cuts through every limitation placed in front of you, until nothing remains but the path you've carved for yourself. The shockwave isn't in the strike. It's in the silence after. That heavy pause when they realize what just happened. When the one they called fragile stands unshaken, and the ones who mocked are the ones trembling. That's the beauty of transformation. It's not loud. It doesn't need announcement. It arrives quietly, then detonates in their minds, leaving them scrambling for explanation. This is the moment they feel the reversal. All the laughter they once aimed at you echoes back, hollow. Every insult sounds like a confession of their own weakness. Their faces change, their voices stumble, and in that split second, they know. They miscalculate. They thought they were predators circling prey. But prey doesn't look them in the eye with that kind of stillness. Prey doesn't carry silence that's sharp. What shocks them most isn't what you say. It's what you don't. You don't beg. You don't justify. You don't argue. You just stand there, anchored, while their certainty crumbles. That quiet presence shakes them deeper than any threat could, because it proves what they feared all along. That the game ended the moment you decided to stop playing by their rules. And once that realization hits, they can't escape it. It follows them in every room. It lingers in every conversation. They thought you were easy prey. But every time they remember your eyes, your silence, your strength, they flinch. That flinch is the shockwave. It's the moment that rewrites their entire memory of you forever. So let them carry that weight. Let them live with the aftershock. Because once they've seen what you've become, once they've felt the storm you've held back, they'll never look at you the same again. And that is the sweetest victory. The kind that doesn't need applause, only their silence. This is where the story ends and begins. You're not prey anymore. You're not predator either. You're something beyond those names. Something that keeps both awake at night. Because they can't define it, can't predict it, can't control it. You're the nightmare in their blind spot. The storm they never thought would break. The echo they can't silence. Identity is no longer borrowed from their work. It's built from your scars, your choices, your fire. Every moment of rejection was a brick. Every humiliation was mortar. And now you stand like a fortress they can't breach. You don't ask who you are. You declare it in the way you move. In the way you stand, in the way the air changes when you enter a room. They'll whisper, they'll wonder, they'll search for the old you. The quiet one, the overlooked one, the harmless one. But that version is gone, buried, replaced by someone untouchable. Someone who doesn't need their validation. Someone who doesn't need their permission. You don't exist for their comfort anymore. You exist for your own power. This is the nightmare they never saw coming. The face behind the mask. The presence behind the silence. The force born from underestimation and forged in shadows. And now you are undeniable. Not because they said it. Not because they accepted it. But because you claimed it, because you built it, because you are it. So stand in that truth, stand in that weight. Let them whisper, let them tremble, let them regret, because you were never the easy prey they imagined. You were always the storm waiting to rise. And now the world finally knows it. They think silence is weakness, but silence is strategy. It's the quiet before the storm, the inhale before the strike, the pause that burns their nerves. Noise is their addiction. They need it to feel alive. You weaponize stillness. Let them chatter, let them shout, let them try to drown you in their chaos. Because when you finally speak, every word lands like fire, like truth too sharp to ignore. And in that single moment, You own the room, completely. Chaos is not random. It is rhythm, a hidden order only the fearless can hear. Most people stumble in the noise. But you dance with every twist, every break, every unexpected turn. It feeds you, sharpens you, crowns you. They mistake your unpredictability for madness, but it's brilliance with a mask on. You don't follow rules. You bend them until they scream, until they fit your design. And when the smoke clears, they realize the chaos was never against you. It was always yours.